Welcome to This Week in Wyoming Cowboys Athletics here in WyomingAthletics.org and ESP Media powered by Sidearm Sports. My name is Jason Griefer. Once again, we're joined by Wyoming Assistant Athletic Director Jeff King. Jeff, a lot of good stuff to talk about outside of Mother Nature because, pardon my French, Mother Nature sucks right now. But we won't focus on that right now because we want to focus on the positives. And let's do that, first of all, with your baseball team. And we talked last week a lot about the big week it had ahead of them, the team that is, the Taylor series was great. Both games go to extra innings. You wind up splitting them. So, excuse me, we remain status quo there. And then we follow it up with a huge win over Indian Hill on Monday night. A great game back and forth. Brennan Pagan, no surprise, is the hero at the end of the day with a diving catch in center field to close it out. So with that, we're now 2 games ahead with 3 to go in league play. You're going to get Indian Hill coming up here on Wednesday. And if you win that game, you eliminate Indian Hill and also clinch at least a share of the league championship with 2 more games to play against Marymount, who has been kind of up and down all year long. Recap this last week with these 2 great games against Taylor, the great one against Indian Hill, and ultimately what the plan is as far as beating Indian Hill again and try to secure the outright league title.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a super exciting week for baseball. Like you said, splitting the Taylor series, but it was such a great series with a lot of great baseball, a lot of great hits. So losing that second one was tough, but we bounced back really strong against a good Indian Hill team. And like you said, I was thinking about this earlier, and I can't say enough about Brennan Pagan. We've talked about him on the podcast before, but just what he's been doing for that team and what he's meant to that program and obviously other programs as well. You can't say enough, and he's really bolstering that team up, and they're playing off of his great performances. But it's a true team effort. Luke Taylor stepped in last night to pitch against Indian Hill, and even though they bomb out a grand slam, we got the job done. So really great win. Coming up, it's still 1 game at a time. We got to take care of Indian Hill tomorrow. And then, 2 straight games against Marymount. It's hard to beat a team twice, especially twice back to back. So 1 game at a time, but we like where we're sitting.
Do they feel like do they understand that they're on the verge of potentially winning this thing outright if they take care of business this week? Do they understand all that in front of them, or are they still trying to, as you said, look at it as 1 game at a time? I have to imagine they know where they're at as far as the league standings go.
Right. I mean, I think they know, but it's certainly still where we can't overlook anybody. That's for sure. And this is a team that hasn't overlooked anyone all season. So building off of some strong performances that we had, keeping it 1 game at a time, knowing that we got to take care of business tomorrow, and then see where we land after that. That's definitely kind of keeping the eye on the prize and making sure that we get the job done.
Over on the softball side of things, we talked about the big week they had coming up, and in particular, the showdown against Taylor, whose pitching staff has been awesome all year long. And they wind up holding your team to just 1 run en route to a 7-1 win. You did bounce back nicely, most recently with easy wins over Finneytown and Indian Hill. So you're sitting right now a half game behind there. Taylor's 10-0. Your team's 10-1 in the league. You've got 3 games coming up here this week against Marymount, against Indian Hill, and against Taylor. You're likely going to have to win all 3 to claim at least a share of the league title. So a lot of things to take care of as far as that goes. But, excuse me, we also do now know the postseason route towards a long run. The draw was announced over the weekend. You're going to get New Richmond in round 1 on May the 13th. They're a pretty good squad as well as yourselves right there. How do you see this upcoming week going for the team? And then also in talking to either players or coaches, what did they think of the tournament draw when it was unveiled?
For this upcoming week, it's kind of the same thing as baseball, where we got to take it a game at a time, but we know that we have that Taylor game looming for sure. But making sure that we're really taking care of it, knowing that when we meet them, we got to put points up on the board. They've done such a great job of holding all the teams that they've played to low scores. So every game that we play, we need to work towards, having a great offense. Our seniors are playing great with Naomi Evans on the mound. Leanna Morgul's doing a great job. But we like where we're at, the bouncing back, those 2 good wins that we have there, knowing now that we have what we got to do in the tournament, but we can't look forward to New Richmond quite yet. We got to make sure we take care of business, knowing that we can still win the CHL with some really tough games coming ahead.
So is it your expectation then that given that the league has not been decided, that coach is going to put out his best lineup he can each and every night and not potentially rest players ahead of the postseason?
That's what I would expect. We don't have much of a numbers to rest players as it is on the team, but I know that these girls want to play. They want to play every single day. Anytime that we get a rain out or anything like that, they're upset about it because they want to be out there playing and they want to play for that CHL title, especially with the streak that Taylor has in the league. Who doesn't want to challenge that? So it's something that we're looking forward to, but one game at a time, every team that we play, we know we're going to get a really great shot from everybody.
Let's move on to the lacrosse field and let's talk about your girls first. Last week, we were kind of talking about how things were kind of struggling as a bit. You had the close loss of Springboro a couple weeks ago. Indian Hill got the better of you, and then you lose a closer one to Bishop Hartley. And something clicked between the Bishop Hartley game and last Wednesday against Carroll, where something switched. I don't know if it's just something they figured out strategically, or they're just playing angry because your team over the weekend just bludgeoned the three teams they took on, beating Carroll 16-6, Alter 22-1, and then Mount Notre Dame 16-4. That's a pretty good run to go through in a 4-day stretch right there. What did they take from that 3-game skid that ultimately led them to flip that switch and win these last 3 games in routes?
I think it made us better. We talk about it. Playing tough competition can make you better, especially at really important times in the season. And coming through and, having those 3 straight wins after a tough stretch that we had, you can't say enough about, the senior leadership with Sophia and Olivia Dick, Meredith Bornholt, Megan Lyons. They're getting this team ready every time that we play, knowing that, hey, look, we went through a tough stretch, but we know how good we are, but we also know how good we can be. And they're doing such a great job preparing, watching film, doing what it takes on the practice field to make sure we're in a really good shape here when it comes playoff time.
Over on the boys' side, we've lamented about the struggles the boys have had on the season. So we'll just kind of touch on what they have coming up this week. Scheduled matches, again, weather permitting, with Madeira, Carroll, and Cincinnati Country Day, at least before we reconvene, and then the regular season finales against Summit a week from Wednesday here. What's the outlook this coming week? What are they looking to try to get accomplished as they wind down the regular season here with the tournament just around the corner?
I think it comes down to we want to just look at executing a little bit better. There were a couple of times, especially playing Miamisburg last night. It was a really tough game against a good Miamisburg team, but you saw a couple things that go really well, and we got some tough kids that are just playing so hard. And Dozier Ambrose took some really good shots. Aiden Jones had a nice goal. Noah Popovits. So we're excited about the toughness of that team. We just know that we need to execute a little bit better. We need to defend better and get to the goal, put up more shots. I think that's something that coach is saying, we can't score unless we shoot. So keep putting up more shots. Coleman Jeffries has done a really good job as well. It's a really tough team. It's just something that one day at a time, try to get better each and every day, and hopefully we get some positive outcomes coming out.
Do you think the way the season has gone, maybe it's eroded some of their confidences on offense in particular, as far as the willingness to take shots? That here we are in the last week or two of the season, and they're still having to relay that message to the kids. Hey, fire it on, go ahead, take that shot.
I think even though if you look at their record, they're actually, their confidence is pretty high. It just comes down to executing so you have the shot to take. And I know that they have the ability to do it. I think that we just kind of had some maybe miscommunication here and there, but we're working to correct that. And like I said, there were some really nice positive things happen in that Miamisburg game last night that I think we were happy coming out of it. It was a tough loss, obviously, against a good team, but when you saw us execute, when you saw us take the shots, hopefully that'll build the confidence going into the rest of the season.
That's a great point right there to bring up as well. It's not just the shot, it's the plays leading up to the shot. And you know that from your days playing football. It's not necessarily how you execute on one particular play. It's how you get yourself lined up, your technique, all those kinds of things can really set you up for those situations there. So that's a really good point there. Let's move on. Let's talk about your tennis teams. And now they're on the backside of that gauntlet week we were talking about last week. Of course, Indian Hill, obviously, they took care of business. They've clinched the league championship. Your team got a little bit of breather as the Turpin match was called off here, when Turpin's a very, very good team out of the ECC. But then we go to the Coaches Classic over the weekend, and I was trying to follow some of these results as they were announced on social media here, and some really strong results right there. Before we talk about kind of the postseason matchups and where we stand with that, we'll get to that here in a moment. Take us through the Coaches Classic. How did the boys perform? How did the coaches think they performed there?
We performed really well. If you look at the top of the leaderboard, we had several kids up at the top. Mark Keller played really well. Thompson Blade, Colin Schmidt. He's a freshman. We have some really young kids in here that are doing a good job, backed by some of the veterans on the team. We're excited about how we came out. We knew it was going to be a really tough tournament, but that's what we needed, especially after that gauntlet, like you said. And obviously, we wish we could have played Turpin, but having that canceled maybe gave us a little bit more time for some more preparation going into the Coaches Classic, and then obviously coming up with the pro season. So, coach is excited where we're at, excited about where the program's going, and I think that we'll see some good results coming up here for the postseason.
Your team's going to go up to Mason to play in the sectional draw here. And now that we know that draw, similar as we touched on earlier with the softball here, did the draw break the way the coaches thought, the players thought? What do they think of their matchups here? And ultimately, your chances to have one or more singles or doubles teams make a run here in the sectional, maybe even get out.
Yeah, it came down to it really, once the draw is done, you look at what your matchup is and just kind of prepare for that and take it one match at a time. And I think that we're actually excited about where we're at in the draw. And we got some performers that they know what they got to do leading into it, but make sure that we're prepared going into it. I think that we can make a nice little run with a couple of those players.
We'll check in on that when it comes to pass here. Finally, let's talk about your track and field teams right now. Assuming Mother Nature cooperates here, at least we have a scheduled meet with Hamilton. Again, today. Don't know if that's going to happen or not. Again, Mother Nature has not been a friend around Cincinnati here as of late. But we also look at the schedule and see that the CHL championships are coming up next week here. So with that being said, if this meet happens with Hamilton, are the coaches going to send out their full lineup, or are they going to hold some kids back to make sure they are healthy and fully ready to go for the CHLs?
We're ready to go. We're ready to go to send everybody up there today. And as of right now, that meet's on. So I think it's going to be a great meet in preparation for the league championships. We get a nice little break and some downtime from here until next Friday. So that's a good thing for our athletes. But we keep talking about every week. If you look at the top of that leaderboard, the CHL, there's a lot of Wyoming athletes up there that we can be proud about to watch. And I think that this meet here up at Hamilton, we're going to see some big teams, a lot of good sized schools that we competed against before, where we kind of were neck and neck with in a couple meets. But we also know that this can kind of be a great little meet to see exactly where we are once we get in tournament time, get outside of the league. But we're taking it one event at a time. And I guess that could kind of be the phrase for today's podcast: one event, one game, one match at a time. But that's really what we're looking at. And they're going to send everybody, and we're going to give it our best shot today.
When you go up to an event like this, as you said, Hamilton's a GMC school, a lot of big schools up there. You're going to see a lot of Division I athletes that may go on to, lengthy runs in the postseason, maybe even state champions. Who knows, depending on the talent that shows up there. How do the coaches go about preparing their kids for that knowing that there may be some events where you're probably not going to compete for the win? You may be able to get onto the podium, a third place finish here or there, because you're going up against so many potentially, high level Division I athletes right there. How do they deal with that? How do they relay that message to the kids and also relay those expectations that they have for a meet like this?
We know, just like any other sports, we'll play anybody. So we're excited about, the step up in competition anytime we step on the field. But it's also a great opportunity that our coaches relay the message. You're also competing against yourself, especially in track and field. You're trying to set some personal bests every time that you go out there. So, if you don't make it to the top of the podium, well, did you set a personal best that's going to be able to propel you forward a little bit more? So that's something that our kids are definitely thinking about. Hopefully to set some personal records here today up at Hamilton. And, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of our athletes at the top of some of those podiums.
We'll be checking in on that for sure. Big meet up there today in Hamilton, of course, assuming Mother Nature allows it. Before I let you go right here, do you have any PRs, any track and field events you want to brag about?
I did okay in shot put in high school. I'll say that, but I feel good about that. But Joel Allen, who's our star thrower right now, I keep telling him I I hope that one day he eclipses it. That's for sure.
That is the track and field legend, Jeff King, joining us here once again. We appreciate your time, Jeff, here for This Week in Wyoming Cowboys Athletics here in WyomingAthletics.org and ESPN Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.